So then my daughter said, Daddy, stop, they'll arrest you. Because she was very worried. She's worried about this stuff. And
then one of the police officers repeated just what our daughter had said. Yes, we will arrest you. For what?
And I said, and I called 911. So then I said, wait, I have to get my brother. I need some help. I turned around and I went to the door. I was pretty excited, so I maybe went kind of fast, but I went to the door. I said, Jay, you gotta come. And before I could get to the door, I was tackled. These three guys just jumped me, tackled me, and they got me on the ground. One was kneeling with his full weight on the side of my head. My wife said my face turned purple.
It's okay, we're among friends. Come on, what have you got for me?
We have plenty of evidence.
What's in it for me?
When the apes awaken and see the monolith, their shadows suggest that they are looking at the sunrise. Cut to a wide shot, and they're in an enclave where the sun is unable to shine directly on them. And if it did...
It's all up here.
There were 3 million Jews in Hitler's Europe.
Acting shocked and playing dumb covers that this intelligent man is one of the creators of the hoax. So out of the 100 bodies found, maybe 20 are Jewish.
You're talking about mass murder, General.
20 Jewish bodies could not be major evidence for the Holocaust, but Eisenhower would have you believe it is. To see this, we go to Eisenhower's own book, Crusade in Europe. That same day I saw my first horror camp. It was near the town of Gotha. Ohrdruf is the only camp near Gotha. I have never felt able to describe my emotional reactions when I first came face to face with indisputable evidence of Nazi brutality and ruthless disregard of every shred of decency. Up to that time, I had known about it only generally or through secondary sources. I am certain, however, that I have never at any other time experienced an equal sense of shock. I visited every nook and cranny of the camp because I felt it my duty to be in a position from then on to testify at first hand about these things in case there ever grew up at home the belief or assumption that the stories of Nazi brutality were just propaganda. Some members of the visiting party were unable to go through the ordeal. I not only did so, but as soon as I returned to Patton's headquarters that evening, I sent communications to both Washington and London, urging the two governments to send instantly to Germany a random group of newspaper editors and representative groups from the national legislatures. I felt that the evidence should be immediately placed before the American and British publics in a fashion that would leave no room for cynical doubt.
Depending on the break. I will not go down in history as the greatest mass murderer since...
Eisenhower's large book came out 3 years after the war, and the passage we read is all there is on the Holocaust.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
This is General Ripper speaking.
Yes, sir.
You recognize my voice, Hendrick?
I do, sir. Why do you ask?
Why do you think I asked? You don't think I'd ask if you recognize my voice unless it was pretty damned important, do you, Mandrake?
Because 9/11 was the opening salvo on a war against the United States, and this war against the American people, against the American way of life. Article that I wrote about Ehud Olmert's ties to 9/11, that was the first article that was absolutely not printed. And the thing is that what you have to ask, the question you have to ask is not just cui bono, or who benefited by 9/11, but you have to ask who else? Who else could have done this? Who else would have done this? And who else had a motivation strong enough? And there was a hint of an investigation, but as you said, the evidence was concealed. This is the key thing, is that such a plot like this, the number one thing they want to make sure is that they control the investigation, they control the evidence, and they control the prosecution of any crimes afterwards. And with Michael Chertoff, running the Department of Justice at the time, and the FBI.
If the opponent is very good, he will place his victim inside an environment he can control.
That's what it's been all along. And when one of the things that occurred to me the other day is that the reason they did this in New York, the reason they had this horrible crime, 9/11, done in New York, is because New York City is the place where they control everything. They control the mayor, they control the governor, they control the Port Authority. And these are people that I've named in my articles about 9/11. I'm going to take my articles about 9/11 and put them into a book form. I hope to do that. But if you look at the person who ran the Port Authority, that was Louis Eisenberg. Yeah, Louis Eisenberg is the person who oversaw the transaction in which the Twin Towers were sold to Larry Silverstein on July 26th.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire in Building 7. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life.
He's a poet.
And they made that decision to pull. And then we watched the building.
That's a fascinating story. I have one question for you. How?
Remember we've talked about this with Eric and you. They use these honey traps to get politicians, blackmailed or held over, extorted or whatever. I was looking the other day, just by accident, at who Sylvester Stallone's mother is. Her name is Jacqueline Lubavitch. And Jacqueline Lubavitch is a big strip club owner in the Northeast. And each one of these has a very high-end VIP room, of course. Mm-hmm. Not very different than the Runway 69 VIP room of Mr. Silverstein and others. There you go. So they get these very high-ranking people, nobility. They get kings and queens and congressmen and senators. And like you said, they get them in some situation where they get the evidence on them, and they're blackmailable for life. That's right. This is the oldest trick in the book.
Help yourself.